first. Okay, there. No. And oh, I must have my wrong. No, I have the right headphones on, speakers on, but I don't hear you. I didn't hear you that time. But hold on.
All right. Hello, guys.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
We can hear you better when it's on the right microphone. Happens to me. It's it's funny. This is the first thing I do when I come onto Zoom now, and at least I try to. And when I forget, everything is always set wrong.
Unfortunately, that was not what happened. I had myself on mute.
Oh, that would do it too. Mute. That silly thing called mute. All right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
put this
No, I
away.
was I was I was prepping, and then so okay. Well, hello everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome
Hello.
to EdTech Cafe podcast, and where innovation meets education. We are well. My name is Rosita,
And my name is Philip.
and we're here to honestly just bring you guys. We talk about like entrepreneurship for teachers, education, entrepreneurship for like educators, teacher training, business growth, personal fulfillment, time out, all of the above, and also about nerdy stuff
Yeah,
and random stuff.
which is the fun part. Yeah,
That is
random
actually the
stuff.
fun part. Speaking
We
of
do like random.
awesome random stuff, I have been obsessed with a particular app
Oh,
that
what is
has
it?
nothing to do with education.
It doesn't have to. Doesn't
No.
matter.
Okay. Okay. So, I think it was, what was it? I don't know how I found it, but I found this app called Too Good to Go,
Okay.
and it's an app that's meant to help reduce food waste by purchasing a surprise bag by restaurants in your area, and you don't know what you're going to get. That's why, hence, the surprise bag. And
So sometimes it's going to be stuff you love, and sometimes it's a bag of yellow squash. Ew, trash.
oh, first of all, squash is amazing. Give me the squash.
No, I
I
love squash. I just don't like yellow squash. And it's not the color. I don't know. It's just something. Just I will eat it if it's mixed in with other stuff.
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
I can make it happen, but yeah.
But yeah, I went to like, so on Monday I spent like $20, just in three different places, right? So
Hmm.
you purchase like you pay like between like $4 to $8, so it's super cheap, and what they give you is more than what you've paid for, hands down. I went to
Cool.
like a donut shop. I ended up giving like the donuts like to my floor in my apartment building, like that many. I
Mm.
had like over a dozen donuts. um there's this place called California Fish Grill here. That one
Mm-hmm.
was meh. You can pass that if you guys have that app. But so Prince Street Pizza just opened up recently here in Orange County. Dangerous. It's very close to where I live. And like and for listeners to know, Prince Street Pizza is a very popular pizza place in New York. And it's just as good as if you went to the original location in New York. And we got a big box of pizza slices, and like those slices of pizza are like 7.50. I only paid like
Mm-hmm.
$6. So I have been obsessed with that app for like my meal
Pretty
preps
cool.
from like this week.
I like it.
It,
Which reminds me of an app that we have loved that is on it's on sort of the same lines, but it's not about food waste, unfortunately, which would be a really cool thing. But I do live in Florida, so I mean, I'm not even sure. I've just downloaded Too Good to Go, and we do have a lot of restaurants that are all about that kind of thing. So
oh, that's
we'll
awesome.
see. I'm hoping. Um, but it's on my wife's phone right now. It's called In Kind. Um, and there's only a few restaurants here, but there's this really great Italian restaurant here called Brio that we've only been to once because it's just insanely expensive. Or we're like, we can't afford this place. But the in-kind app gives you 10% back, I think, on everything you spend. And then every now and then it'll just be like, hey, if you spend $30, we'll take $15 off. And we're just like, and then we still get, and it just, so it does this a lot. So then it ends up making your bill at this restaurant cost so much less. You just pay from the app, show the waitress that you paid with the app, and they're like, okay, cool. And then you're done. It's really cool. It's very
20%
different.
back at thousands of restaurants.
Yeah, some of them are 20. That's right. The one, I think the Brio at one was like 10%, but it's like maybe it is 20% because I just noticed that we had only been there a couple of times, got a ton of money off, and then we go again and we had like $14 in money back to spend. So we went again.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. I was like, this app is saving us so much money coming here. That app has probably saved us like $100 just going to that restaurant. If we had, assuming we would have gone to it anyway, which we probably wouldn't, but we went because we would have gone somewhere else that would have cost us still more than what we paid, a lot more than we paid with the app. So it was really awesome.
Yeah. So
We love
I'm
it.
looking it up on the website. Any place in where we get to save money, I think it's going to be ideal. And then if you think about it, especially when you're trying to meal prep and stuff like that, and a lot of us end up wasting so much food on our end, and at restaurants, they just end up like throwing the food away. So having apps like that, and where it encourages people to go there, save money, eat, take home, or stuff like Too Good to Go, you get like the leftovers from the food, and you just don't have to worry about it, and yet you are supporting the restaurant industry as well.
Yeah.
So it's
Like with the in-kind app, I think too, with it being multiple restaurants, like let's say you get your 20% back at restaurant X and you have money to spend. You have let's say you've got $10 to spend. You can go to at restaurant Y and spend it there. You don't have to spend it in the same place you went.
oh, that's
Doesn't
awesome.
matter.
So I'm checking out the restaurants here, and I found one of my favorite restaurants. It's actually on this
Cool.
list. And hey, Prince Street Pizza is also part of that app.
Yeah, and then definitely
I
use it
love
because when you get
that.
20% back, like
Dude.
especially if a slice of pizza is $7, that's $1.40 back.
Yeah.
Yes, I mathed. I'm mathing
Oh,
and it's
wow.
it's not morning anymore, so I can math right
Oh,
now.
it's it's definitely morning here.
Yeah, Rosita is not mathing. She's like, I don't do
Mathing?
20% until afternoon.
Mathing
That's
does not start until 12 o'clock, okay? Or after.
yeah. It's
We do simple math in the morning. Okay, that's fine, but no.
exactly simple math. Just 1 plus something.
Like
Something
1 plus
small.
1 plus 3. Okay, cool.
I'm looking to see if there's something. Okay, so what I want to know is why does this app that you just suggested me think that I live? Where does it think I live? Oh my goodness.
Well, let's not mention it out loud. You can also, when you go
No,
on top
I
of the
know.
app,
No.
you can adjust the radius too.
Yeah.
And also you can have check your recent or search my area or find my location. That's the thing I was looking for. Okay, so today
Cool.
we're going to be talking about how to align your business growth with personal fulfillment. Because I have owned multiple businesses, and there have been businesses in which I've owned that let's just say did not give me personal fulfillment. It gave me a migraine. And
Yeah.
honestly, owning a business is overwhelming. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Even just owning one business is overwhelming, especially when you're the boss, right? And you don't
Hmm.
have, employees yet to take over certain roles like finances or video editing or the administrative stuff. It is
Hmm.
time consuming, and also it withers your passion too. So we're going to be talking about something that we've been talking about this month is just how to set meaningful business goals and maintain that spark, that spark that initiated in you starting your educational business.
Mm, that's true. Well, and you know what's interesting to me about this topic is you do have to make sure that whatever the business is doing, that you align with it somehow. And when I even say align with it, not are you good at it?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with whether you're good at it. I've taught so many pianists who, whether once they're a teenager, they are amazing at the piano. But that is not what they want to do for a living. And I'm not going to be like, well, you should do it because you're great at it. It's like if you enjoy playing, but you don't want to be a concert pianist or you don't want to teach piano, don't do that. Do something else. It doesn't even matter what it is. Do something else.
Yeah,
Make sure
do
you
something that
align
you're
with it.
passionate about.
Yeah.
And since we are talking about more in the educational like industry, let's say let's say that let's do a non-school subject here. Let's say that you
Mm.
guys want to be an educational coach, right? Your passion is to help people train, right? You help people to learn the learning psychology of a group of certain people so you can better explain things and better train your team or their team, right?
Hmm.
So it has to be something that lights up your eyes. Uh, I was talking to my husband the other day, and I was telling him, it's just like, dude, it's rough creating. I love business. I love it. I even, as annoying as it is, I do generally enjoy doing the admin stuff, and I love my spreadsheets. But there's a difference in wanting to create a business versus needing to create a business.
Hmm.
Because you don't, when you need to create a business, most of the time, not all, but most of the time, is you're going to only open a business just for sole profit. And just that alone is not going to motivate you. And even if it's successful,
Hmm.
you'll probably just hire some people. It's like, okay, that's just the business running that I don't have to worry about. But your heart is not there, and that impacts on your services, your products, every aspect of your business. And it also will impact
Yeah.
your employees.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've got to actually care about that business. There are a lot of people out there who their passion is to make money. And you know what? That actually is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not downplaying like what someone's passion might be. Now, in that instance, like what does that person do? So, owning a business is the number one way to make the most amount of money. So people who do that, if they're just looking for money, that is usually what they do, and they pick some sort of business that will easily make money, or they just buy into a business like a McDonald's franchise or something,
Yeah, but something like
because those
passive
can make
income
a
or
ton of money.
something.
Yeah, and they don't really care about like what McDonald's serves people. They're just like, tell me what to do. I own the business. I'll open another one. Then I'll open another one. Then I'll open another one. And it's like, fine. And that's usually the way they go. But like, if you're really passionate about opening a business, then do it. Now, if you are not, it's okay to not do it.
Yeah.
It's okay to work for somebody. It's okay to not even teachers. Like for example, there are a lot of private teachers out there who want to teach only in person. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to deal with any of the admin stuff, so they go work at a music store. That's okay. Now that music store might take 40 to 50% of the price, and that's unfortunate, but they are providing you a space to work
Exactly.
and a safe space to work. So there is that. And it's not in your own home. You don't have to have people coming to your house. So you have safety. So you have to think about like what's important to you
Mm-hmm.
really in that.
Yeah, and also to like, there's so many ways in to conduct your business, and you
Mm-hmm.
brought up like fantastic examples on that. If you don't want to do the admin stuff like that, you can just rent a space or get hired like at a music school or something. If you want to do in-person lessons only and have them not come to your place, which honestly, I don't think it's something that I would ever do again as well. Only because, I've had a drunk student come to my place before.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's not good.
yeah. And also too, like, it doesn't have to be a constant grind when owning your
Mm-hmm.
business. You can grow your business without just like sacrificing like what you love about, in this case, teaching. If you're in the education industry, or even not just teaching in the education industry, you can like coach people in, like, say, finances in the district or something like that, or um how to apply project
Mm.
management in the district. There's so many elements to the education industry, but you don't have to feel that constant grind, and you have to start with the foundation of setting meaningful goals. So here's a question
Yeah.
for you, Phil. How do you approach goal setting for your business? And I'm going to take a
Ooh.
bite of this.
Yeah. Ooh, what are you eating? Now we all want to know, what is Rosita eating? It's breakfast. It's donuts. No, it's not donuts. It is like a donut. It's a croissant.
It's an almond croissant. Too good to
I was
go.
gonna say it looks like an almond croissant because it's got the powdered sugar on it. They always put powdered sugar in an almond croissant, which I always thought was strange. But
Yeah.
when I
Well,
say they, I mean everyone who makes them. The universal they for some reason. Okay, wait. So I forgot the question because you were
I
eating a croissant
distracted
and I
you.
wanted to know what it was. I wanted to know what it was because food is important.
Food is very important. Dude, I'm telling you,
I,
Phil,
I ate
and
so
everyone
unhealthy this
that's
morning.
listening. Too
I
good
went to
to
Whole
go, I'm
Foods and
telling you.
I got a donut from Whole Foods, which sounds true. You got a donut from Whole Foods? I'm like, yeah, we don't have a lot of good. My wife brought home a donut from a cruller from Dunkin' Donuts the other day. She was like, "This isn't as good as normal." I took one bite and I literally spat it out and had to drink like enough of something afterwards just to make sure I got the taste. And I was like,
Oh,
"That's
wow.
disgusting."
Wow. Mom and pop shops are the
Something
way
was
to
wrong with
go.
it. They're usually good. I mean, they used to be good. So I don't know what happened. So I was just like,
They,
Whole Foods, good enough.
yeah, they used to be good. And it makes me sad because I'm from Mass. And
Oh,
Dunkin' in Mass is the way of life.
well, I'm
And,
from the Carolinas
but,
and Krispy Kreme,
Krispy
where they
Kreme.
made the donuts in the store.
Yeah. No, I don't want to say this out loud, but
Uh-oh.
Duncan has fallen in
Yeah.
quality. I mean, the reason I go back time to time is pretty much for nostalgic
Just in case.
purposes. There's always that slight hope, even though I know 99% I'm just going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it got even worse because she told me that while she was there, she had gotten some of their egg bites and had to return them because there was a hair stuck inside one of them. And it was just like, ew, really?
To be fair, that can
Ugh.
happen anywhere, but it was quite unfortunate to happen at Dunkin'.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, this is at a Dunkin' where these things are pre-made. They're not making this egg bite there.
Uh-oh.
These egg bites are made in a factory by a
Yeah.
machine. How did a hair get stuck in that? That's disgusting.
You just put
So
it as a
disgusting.
souvenir, you know?
So anyway,
Yeah.
okay.
Anyways.
So wait,
Yeah. So what do
we bet.
you? So how do you approach your goal setting for your business?
Ooh, goal setting from my business.
No. Shush.
Um,
I'm at work.
oh gosh. So yeah, my goal setting in my business is to try to there's two things in my like piano and voice studio that I'm trying to get better at. And so this is one of the things that I'm approaching and getting better as I do this is thinking about um, what I'm worth. Like, what am I worth and what am I giving to people? So, um, and realizing that what I'm giving is worth a certain amount of money. For the reason that this goes back to, I think what we talked about last week is having personal time and all that stuff, is making sure that I am charging enough to and actually knowing like knowing innately that I'm worth what I'm charging, because that's part of it. You really have to know you are worth what you're charging, or your customers will see that. They will see that you don't believe in yourself. Um,
Yeah, you
and
cannot have any form of insecurity when owning a business. You have to be
yeah,
confident enough because it that that insecurity should be just kept only to yourself. You cannot project that when owning a business.
yeah. And if you really do feel insecure about your worth, talk to other teachers. And talk to a lot of other teachers. Don't just find that one that agrees with you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. It is important to have different opinions
Yeah.
when it comes to teaching methods and ask them why that approach in a non like like passive aggressive way, but just to generally know
Hmm.
like why that method works for that particular instructor. And it could be a mind blown moment because it's something that you've never considered.
And don't like yeah, and realize if you're talking to people around the country, realize that of the same subject, like if it's piano, if you are talking to a teacher in Kansas and talking to a teacher in San Francisco, and then talking to a teacher in South Carolina, and then talking to a teacher in New York, you know the two that are going to say you need to charge more. You know who those two are. And then if there are two that tell you to charge more and two that tell you you're charging too much, I already know which ones they are. You
Mm-hmm.
have to look at their area, and they have to even realize that, okay, if they're teaching in person, especially, and they're living in Kansas or South Carolina, they're probably not charging $100 a half hour. But if they're living in San Francisco or New York City, they absolutely are, or they can't even feed themselves. They can barely afford rent on that.
Yeah.
Like or mortgage or anything. So there is, you have to get a good like idea, like look at like where are you teaching? Are you teaching all online? Then it doesn't matter where you live.
Mm-hmm.
Get a good idea of like what does everybody charge? Now, like Lesson Face, for example, says the average charge is still somewhere around $20 for a half hour. Or no, it's like 18, I think. 17 or
Yeah, it's like
$18 for a
I
half
think
hour
it's
on them.
like 18.
I think it was something like that, which is, I mean, and that was ever since they instituted a requirement that on their site, you are not allowed to charge less than $15 for a half an hour. So because a lot of teachers were doing this, and so they would get teachers from overseas that would charge $10 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's okay for them, but it's killing the teachers in the country. And by the way, Lesson Face is a company from South Carolina, that state that I just mentioned. They are not from New York. I always thought they were from New York. I don't know why. I just assumed they were from New York because they're a big company, and I always just assume they're all from New York if they're on the East Coast. So if they're not Disney and they're on the East Coast, they're in New York. But yeah, they're from South Carolina. And they instituted that just to go, you know what? We need to make sure that we keep our US based teachers. And now they didn't institute an hour requirement. I would like for them to. I've suggested it, I think, in a meeting once, that they institute like at least a $30 an hour requirement. So these kind of things do help, but you don't want to look at that average and say, oh, well, the average is 18 and I'm a brand new teacher. So, I mean, I guess I should be charging 15. No,
No.
it does not mean that. It means you should be charging more than that. Do you have a degree? Are
Yeah.
you good at what you do? You don't know who these people are. They
And
do
prime
have
example too
requirements.
is like even if
Yeah.
you're age but you have some experience, like I started tutoring at the age of 16.
Yeah.
So that still counts as experience. Now, was I a master at 16? By no means.
No, but so
Um,
what?
but yeah, because you are starting.
Hmm.
And then like as you go on to your like going to college or whatnot or gaining experience, however that may be, um that is going to also affect how much you're going to charge. So if you're a brand new teacher, right? Let's say that you're 18, right? And the average rate is 18. Dude, start at 23. Why?
Yeah, at
Because
least.
most corporate office, at least in this state of California, but I assume it's about average. It's about like $20, like $23.
Hmm.
Okay? If you're that kind of like insecure about that, just aim towards like the lowest office job wage. Okay? Start
Hmm.
from there. And then as you gain the experience as an educator in the subjects that you want to teach, then and which you'll need to increase those rates. I
Yeah.
started back in 2009. It was $25 for 30 minutes. This was back in
Hmm.
2009.
Hmm.
Um, and then, of course, I had to match my rates due to the cost of living, which happens every single year. But to provide affordable education, I only increase my prices every 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I do about the
So,
same. About the same there. It's about time for me to maybe increase again soon, but yeah, it's getting to that point.
yeah, I have to increase my
And I've
rates in
had
March. So,
4 new students in a week now, so that's
nice.
usually as soon as you start to gain a lot more students quickly, that's when you need to very yourself quickly think, am I charging enough? Not that, not that getting a ton of students means that you are cheap compared to everybody else. It could just be that you're good, or your SEO is working, or whatever. And I think right now my SEO is working because I got one from Instagram. I got 3 from Lesson Face. No, 2 from Lesson Face. One somewhere else, I think. So it's like I'm gaining some students, and uh, it can be that, but it also, I mean, like I said, I usually assume that there's something going on, like, especially if the students say, we already have a teacher, but, and I'm like, okay, usually they're not going to tell me that one of the buts is price.
Hmm.
They're not going to tell me that, but I know it is one of them because I can kind of weed it out of the conversation without actually asking directly for it,
Yeah.
by just listening to what they tell me, things like that. Um, it's it is helpful to know or like that, and then just increase your price to whatever you need. Because I mean, we all need more. I mean, my property taxes in the 3.5 years we've lived here have gone up 150%. Now, of course, our property taxes compared to like California or San Francisco or Miami are nothing. But my property taxes
It's
compared
still
to like where my
significant.
parents
An
live,
increase is an increase
yeah, an increase
regardless.
is an increase. So if I compare my property tax to my parents, so I have an eighth of an acre lot, a 2,000 square foot house. My parents have a 5.5 acre lot and a much larger house, but in a cheaper area, and their property taxes are slightly more in actual number than mine, slightly more. So it really does matter, and all of that stuff can matter towards what you need to charge. You need to think like how am I, like what are my costs? What are my actual costs of living? Like overall, and am I making enough? You may not need to raise your prices to make enough. You may just need one more student. You may not teach enough students yet. But still goes back to balancing your free time, and making sure we're going back to the subject that we're supposed to be talking about
Yeah.
is making sure you enjoy what you're doing so that but not, and not when I say enjoy what you're doing, I don't mean say I enjoy it so much that I work 80 hours a week.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
That's called obsession. That's
Yeah.
not enjoying it.
That's also why setting specific, meaningful goals is going to help. So,
Yeah.
like, going like for me is whenever, especially like in the New Year's, I was like, okay, my goal is, um, is to grow one of my businesses by 25%. And then I think about, okay, how does it impact my coaching clients? How does it affect my personal life, my teaching quality? And this is something that we talked about actually in the last episode, is using the SMART goals framework, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. We talked about utilizing this framework in the time management episode.
Yeah, that's important. And if you ever forget it, you don't have to remember those. Just go into Google and say, just ask it. You know, smart business goals, something smart, and then something. Write something after it. It will
Yeah,
tell
if you
you.
don't
The
know,
Google AI will tell you what it means. It'll
yeah,
give you examples.
yeah, if you don't know like how to construct like a SMART goal, and you need an example on how to build that, absolutely, like you know, go on Google to research some examples, or use Gemini or ChatGPT. And the cool thing too, by utilizing these AI components, though you should not rely on them totally, balance, is to help us like, hey, I want to start this business. This is what I want. Can you help me create an example of a smart help me create an example using the SMART goal framework, and it will give you an
Yeah,
example, and then you modify it to you to make it more detailed.
exactly.
We again, as specific, be specific. And then one of the things
Yeah,
too, when owning businesses, is balancing profitability with passion. And on it, and
it's kind of what I already talked about a
yeah,
little bit.
it's
I
easy
jumped
to get caught up in
ahead.
the numbers and forget why you started. Um, so several years back, um, okay, I so when I had my vocal coaching business, I had different tiers. In my belief, every business should always have a VIP tier. Okay. And one of my VIP tiers was only for a particular group. It was a specific niche. And these were for groups who wanted both the vocal and language coaching aspect of it for those that wanted to sing in the different languages. This was geared to international bands. And I would coach them on how to learn the pronunciation of their targeted language, and then how to incorporate that with music and how to modify like into their songs, because sometimes, when you're singing words in a different language, it doesn't match the meter that you're singing in their original language. Fun fact.
Yeah. No.
So that cost $5,000. And like in 2019, and you had to book this, by the way, like a month in advance. I had 4 of those in 1 year. And then I was also getting a lot of students. And I loved seeing my checking account. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm getting close to a down payment, a house.
Yeah.
And
That happened to a lot of us online teachers during COVID, by the way, is we taught way too much, we made more money, and we all should have charged a lot more.
Yeah, agreed. But also, I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because a lot of kids needed help because a lot of teachers didn't know how to teach online.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, now I remember. I was literally working 13 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That is so unhealthy.
I got sick, and it also triggered a thing that I have. And I literally went to the hospital like 3 times that year. And this is why, like, one of the reasons I wanted to get into the teacher training and teach and, teaching about business is because I don't want people to do the same mistakes that I did. And, correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, Phil wants to also help to prevent you to repeating his mistakes too. So
I
just a touch
I
more.
was working probably 60 hours a week during COVID, so not as much as Rosita was,
No.
but nobody should work 60 hours a week outside of retail managers during holiday seasons.
Even
And
that.
that said, no, but they all do. And they're required to,
right.
or they get fired. Like they get fired on the spot if they say, well, I don't work 60 hours a week. Okay, get out. I've seen it happen. I worked for Best Buy for 7 years. And by the way, Best Buy was one of the best employers in retail to work for. But if you were an assistant manager or a manager and it was the time between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you said, well, I can only work 40 hours this week, they would literally fire you on the spot and tell you to get out. That's it. That's because it was 6 days a week. Now, they did require that you take at least one day off in the week. They did require that because they were a good employer. They were just like, it's this season. Normally, you do 2 days off. During this season, you might have to work a little bit on that 6th day, but you have to work as much as you have to be there all day if we need you there all day. And that's just the way it was. Now, I will say they also got paid pretty well for what they did.
And
But
the
then what was
overtime
funny is
and
I being like a very math-minded person, one of them said, but I make $65,000 a year. I was like, let's take out a calculator and see if I make more money per hour than you. Because I got paid like $14.50 an hour, like back in 2003, which was a lot.
yeah, back then, yeah.
So, and I did the math. I'm like, oh, you get paid a whole dollar more an hour than me. Good for you. And you have to work a lot harder. But they never liked it when I did things like that. I was like when I mathed at them. And this gets to an important part of this is you do have to think about your health. Like Rosita said, I mean, just because you're working online, you say, well, I'm not working around people with COVID, so I'm not going to get it. You're right. You're not. But you can still get sick by overworking yourself.
Yes,
It's
and also like if you don't have that shut off moment for your body's not able to recuperate. It's not able to recover.
yeah.
Especially your brain. And I was actually talking about this in my other channel about like how much information that we take in, right? You're dealing with different personalities. You are adjusting to how you communicate with these different personalities. So you're also creating, customizable like lesson plans for these different personalities. Your brain is also it's in constant overload, and it does break down. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things, back in 2019 was I knew I had to stop what I was doing. Like I mentioned, I went to the hospital 3 times in 1 year because I literally passed out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having so many like triggered anxiety attacks, even though I didn't think that they were triggers, but they were triggers because I didn't realize what I
Yeah.
was doing. Um, because I was on that constant high. There is a thing called a working high.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things is, as I was teaching, I knew the quality of my service was dwindling because I was so exhausted. So I
Mm.
had to literally stop, and I'm thinking, okay, I need to value the quality that I provide my students, rather than just the revenue. Money
Mm-hmm.
comes and goes. Your health can go and never come back.
Mm-hmm.
When I then prioritized quality teaching, the financial rewards of that naturally followed, to the point like I even increased my prices and people were still booking me. But, I'm like, hey, sorry, I'm off that day. Can you reschedule it? Nope, that's my off day. Have 1 to 2 days. And that's what, like, one of the wish lists whenever we start gaining employees for our song, is
Mm.
do a 4-day work week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is
it's
important. So this
yeah.
is something I gotta put it here. Like, so I know so many teachers who still work 7 days a week. And I will tell them, it's like, you have to take one day off a
You
week.
do.
I just can't. No, no, no. There is no I just can't. You have to. There's no like as soon as you say you can't, you're lying to yourself. I'm sorry. There
It's
is
you
no such
won't.
thing. You won't. There is no such thing ever as I can't take a day off
Mm-hmm.
because the problem goes back to Rosita's example is as soon as you land in the hospital, let's say you work for a company, you go to the hospital, you have two things wrong. You're going to have to pay that hospital bill unless you have amazing health care, which if you live in the US, I already know you don't for a fact that you don't unless you're a CEO or you work for a hospital. And you're not going to get paid. You just lost all of that income.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're making $300, $400 a day. That's great. Every day that you are in that hospital, you don't get that money, and you've already paid your all of your money for your health care before you've paid thousands for health care already. It, it does add up, and it is
It
so
does.
important to
You're
have a day to
losing at the
yourself.
end.
And I personally do have a shut off switch. It's automatic. It's in my head, and I'm like, nope, I need to stop. I have actually asked students, hey, can we just not have a lesson tonight or tomorrow? I mean, I do that, and I do it more often than you might think because I know that I need that time, and I've already. There are days that I teach 13 or 14 lessons, and if I get to lesson 8 and I'm just like, okay, I'm losing it, then I have to rethink what I'm doing that evening sometimes because I just can't do it. Just
Yeah,
I
you have
know I
to.
can't, and I stop myself.
You need to listen to your body. It's the body is going to give you the signs. As
Mm-hmm.
much as you love what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
you won't be able to do it if you collapse.
And think of it like this. So I'm a piano teacher. I really should be spending time practicing. So I try to practice an hour a day. If I really wanted to be like good at my level, I should be practicing 3 to 4 hours a day. That is my level of piano. I'm a performance. I was a performance major. I performed. So I have an hour to practice. I give myself an hour. That's good enough for what I need because I'm not performing anymore. Same thing for singing. Sometimes I do practice my singing. Sometimes I don't. I'm just going to be honest. We singers do that. Sometimes we go, practice just means that I sang for 10 minutes. It's not, but we all do it. I've seen it happen. I've seen opera singers do it. They don't practice 3 hours a day. They should, but they don't. And I need time for that. And when I go back and look, so I have like a bunch of old stuff, which I find it really interesting to keep. So as a kid, my piano teacher would give us a like paper calendar because this was the 1980s. Yes, it was made out of paper. You know that stuff you don't really see anymore. It's kind of like this.
Hey, we still have paper?
It looks like that. And it had a calendar on it. She taught Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. That was it. And she had no more than, I think, 25 students.
A week.
That was it. A week.
Yeah.
And if it was full, it was full. Waiting list.
Mm-hmm.
But how did she get the lessons in? Well, most kids, at least back then, were out of school by 2 o'clock. That was normal. I don't know why nowadays I see kids walking home at 5 p.m. and they
After
don't
school
even have
programs.
after school activities. They're somehow not getting home. And high school kids don't go to school till 9 a.m. now. They kind of stagger the stuff. I don't know if that has to do with bus schedules or what. I'm assuming it has to do with that. I really don't know because the little kids go at 8 and everybody else, the high school kids go at 9 here. But I still sometimes see them coming home really late. Like they should be home at 2 o'clock.
Mm.
I don't understand the concept of being home so late and needing to be in school for like 9 hours.
Well, there are
But
some, just to give you some insight,
mm,
there are enrichment and after school programs out there
mm,
that parents will enroll their kids. Some of them they don't
okay.
like get out till like 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
So
no, I
that's
know
why they
some
would,
of them are. Yeah, they'll
yeah,
have either
and
sports or dance or music. Sometimes like the music. And I do know that in a lot of schools in the US, unfortunately, music was an actual real subject when I was a kid. Now it's a you have to do it outside of school for some schools. Not all schools. Luckily, I have heard that there are still high schools out there that have choir and orchestra and band during the school day, which makes me feel a little bit better about our society. But because when I was getting out of high school, it was in the 90s, and they were actually starting to take, in the Carolinas at least, they were starting to take music out of the school day and say, we're going to start either do we want to do it before school or after school? And it was like a year or two after I left. I was like so happy that I was already gone because I know that some kids, if they wanted to be in orchestra, they had to come before school now
yeah.
because they just said, sorry, we're not going to make it a part of the school day. These kids need to be in whatever, or we don't want to pay for it, or something like that. I'm not even
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yeah.
So,
There was also another point too is when it comes to
mm,
balancing profitability with passion is to
mm,
diversify your income streams, like offering online
Yeah, that's a good idea
courses
now.
or workshops, doing digital products and stuff like that, right? Like little small ebooks. It keeps
Mm.
things, your audience or your clients like excited, and also it will reduce the financial pressure, so you don't have to have that work high. Um,
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm down with like because I
No, it's
remember
good.
the music and the like in the high school and just like you just witnessing how they've been taking out the music programs
Yeah. I mean, you being in
and
California,
just
that
like
probably happened later than it did for me, but it still happened, and
music
it's
is
like very
just as
sad.
important. I mean, music helps with science and critical thinking and so much more.
Yeah.
But hey,
It's okay. It comes and goes though, I will say. It gets better and worse and better and worse and better and worse all the time. So,
yeah.
one day we will maybe figure it out. Anyway, I have like a couple minutes before I have to go
Yeah. Oh,
and teach
that's true.
that thing we're talking about,
Yeah, right.
teaching.
All right, guys. If you
To
have
do
any
that.
questions or any topics that you would like for us to discuss, please leave your comments below. Our website is coming out soon. TBD. I'll put a notification on the YouTube, on on the
Yeah,
YouTube.
the YouTube.
So please watch out for that announcement. And until next time, we'll see you guys next Thursday at 9 a.m.